This is Kevin Conroy, and I am the goddamn Batman.
Hey, I've got great news for you true believers. Here's your chance to get comic books absolutely free. Hey, you know me, Stan Lee wouldn't lie to you. All you've got to remember is stop by your local comic book store on the first Saturday in May. Got that? The first Saturday in May, go to your local comic book store. You're going to find 60, count them, 60 great comic books, yours for the asking, at your participating local comic book shop. Just imagine action, thrills, fantasy, all yours free on the first Saturday in May. And if you can't find your local participating shop, hey, we've got that covered for you too. Go to your computer, just go to www.freecomicbookday.com for the address of your nearest participating dealer. Happy reading, and I almost forgot. Excelsior!
Hello and welcome to the Pull Bag. This is the third After Dark. I am your host, TFG1Mike, and joining me is Jeremy Fein. Hello, sir.
How you doing?
Pretty good. And we are here to talk about that all-important day, that first Saturday in May, the Kentucky Dirt... Oh, wait, no, fuck those horses and their jockeys. Hell no. We are here to talk about the annual Comic Geek event. Once a year, the first Saturday in May, we have Free Comic Book Day. Yes, that's right, ladies and gentlemen. There is such a thing as, people giving away shit for free. Some people might say some of the comics are shitty free comics, but hey, there you go. So this is, we're going to make this an annual After Dark, talking about each comic book day. I would have done it last year, but it was my first time going. So, because while I knew about it, because when I was younger, I wasn't really that into comics, so it didn't really, even though, hey, free stuff, it still didn't really apply to me whatsoever. But how long have you been going to Free Comic Book Day, sir?
You never forget your first time, and This technically was my first time. The problem is that I live out in the country, so it takes about 45 minutes to an hour for me to go anywhere to do anything that I want to. And I finally found that comic book stores are not a dying breed after all. And I found 3. I had to cross state lines into Delaware, but it was well worth it. And not only did I find a great deal on Free Comic Book Day, but what they did was, and I love the gimmick, because guy comes up to me when I walk into the store and he goes, well, you have a pulse, you get a free comic. You dress up in character, which I did. I dressed up as DC's the Mad Hatter. I get a free comic. I have a student ID and a library card, 2 free comics. Donate canned goods, which there happened to be a store right next door, got another free comic. So I made out like a bandit. And then I found 2 other stores, and the best part was I kept thinking that all the stores were going to just give away the same free comics. Now, some did, some didn't, but the ones I didn't pick up at one place, I was able to get another. So I made out, and I will be discussing each and every comic once we get to it of what I got. Plus, I'm on the cover of DC.
Oh my god.
Oh yes, we'll talk about it.
Oh my god. Alright, so Free Comic Book Day started in 2002, so it's only been going for, the last 12 years or so now. I was really surprised that it hasn't been around longer, honestly. I mean, seriously, why hasn't this holy event been going on for the last 70 years in comics?
I have a hypothesis on that one. I think it's because, well, for me, I used to be a New Yorker, so to go to any store, especially when I lived in Brooklyn and then moved to Staten Island, living in the 5 boroughs, you can walk 2 or 3 blocks, you get to a drugstore, which they would sell comics. You go to any store that they had a newsstand that they would sell comics. And even to this day, surprisingly, yes, there are still bookstores out there. They have comics or magazine stands. But now that I've moved to Pennsylvania, it's harder. And I guess there were people that were starting to understand that there aren't cities. There are also, there's suburbia. And I guess they figured, well, suburban kids, yeah, they're not as closed-minded as you think. They like comics. And I guess the stores just figured, we'll do it for one day, like give it on a business card. But these aren't just, an independent from a company that you'll never hear again. No, you're getting Batman. Or Superman or Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And it's amazing. And you also got a lot of artists that are showing up, including they didn't come today, unfortunately, but they're making it up in a couple months. The writers from Fable comics are coming. So and I loved it that Facebook blew this thing up like firecrackers, where even Stan Lee was doing a public service announcement to support your local comic book store.
Oh yeah, most definitely. I mean, it's something that it is something that will get you out to first of all, it'll get you out of your house. Second, the whole, promise of, hey, go to your local comic shop, get a free comic or get a couple of free. Now, different shops have different policies, like you were saying. You go to one, maybe their limit is 5 free comics, or per person, because the comic shops, they still have to buy and pay for these things, even though they're doing it at a heavy discount. They still buy and pay for them. So it's not like, I guess they're losing money at the expense of getting the publicity for people to come into their store.
Well, you gotta, spend money to make money, but that's something else too, is that we talked about this, I think, a couple months ago about variant covers, and I gave my hypothesis about how there was that comic book crash because there were so many different special editions, and now there are all these reprints. I think my other hypothesis was, you're right, the comic books today, nobody wants to go out and buy anything paper-wise because they can just get digital books. And I feel that it's not just going to your store and picking up the book, it's also interacting with the geek culture, because it's amazing how 20, 30 years ago for me, I was being picked on for reading the original Transformers from Marvel or collecting G.I. Joe. Today I get it. It's, we've got podcasts about this and people eat it up. So I think things are changing, and the comic book stores surprisingly now are kind of part museum gift shop, and then, because they still have toys that I regret getting rid of 30 years ago. Like today I saw Snake Mountain out of the box, and they were selling it for $60.
Oh my God, out of the box for 60? That were all the pieces there?
No, yeah, it was
complete. It was just out of the box.
Yeah, it was Snake Mountain. It was out of the box. They were selling it for $60. I've seen these people because I go to RetroCon every year, so they always have it set up, and they have Gray Skull. They have the Slime Pit, even with a canister of that old slime. But other than that, I came close. I was about an hour away from going to Jane Silent Bob's Secret Stash because I've been there a couple of times. But and I met Walt, but he took today off, I heard. But
I honestly do not blame any comic book retailers from taking the day off.
Yeah, they're not going to want to. But the thing with that store is that's also part museum, because when you walk in, it's the comics. Then you go in the back, they have the Bluntmobile, they have missing pages from Dogma, and it's amazing. But
it's also a museum because Brian lives there.
Oh, he does? Oh, I figured.
No. Well, Brian Johnson, he's always there.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
I never saw when I was there. I just saw, unless Brian was in the basement.
He might have been.
Yeah,
but he might not have been there that day either. So.
No, but the point is that There was also another comic book store that in Manhattan, I think it's still around, called Forbidden Planet. And what's great about that store, I mean, they renovated it over the years, but they used to have something where they had like a sub basement where they had comics you never even heard of and some you like to forget. Like they had Howard the Duck, and they had oh god, like the original Swamp Thing, but everything was like piled up to stacks. And I think it's just a great place for interaction because you network and also you meet a lot of creative artists that I saw today, especially a lot of college students, because where I was near University of Delaware. So there were, while I was waiting online to get my comics, you got to talk to a few people.
Yeah. The thing about Free Comic Book Day, as I was mentioning earlier, with the shops, buying these books as a at a discount, and giving them away for free. It's it is to expand the culture. It is to introduce the whole thing of reading comics to everybody, not just to kids, but to everybody. And Gail Simone, writer of Batgirl, Tomb Raider, Red Sonja, she posted on her Facebook today saying that Free Comic Book Day thing. Guys, I say this every year. Please, please, please go to your participating local comic shop today and have fun. That is the entire point. But just a reminder, many people don't realize that the stores do have to pay for comics they give away. They pay for the comics, they also pay for the shipping. Please, all I'm asking is that you do a little shopping in the store when you come to get your free books. Maybe there is a trade paperback or a toy or a game you have been eyeing. Please consider picking it up today. It helps keep the store's cash flow going and helps keep them continue this fun event. Thank you so much. And she's right. I mean, I've got, I think 3 titles, 3 or 4. I actually missed one that I was wanting to get, but whatever. I got 3 or 4 titles, but I also been meaning to pick up for the pull bag coverage IDW's TMNT Volume 5 Krang War. So I picked that up. So I spent $14 at the store today, which is fine. I was going to buy the book anyways, so it's not like I wasn't going to get it. So yeah, that'll the back issue classics for that'll actually be the first week next month. Volume 5 and Micro Series Volume 2 Part 2, so there's that. For me, this year the books didn't, I don't know, they said there's a total of 60 that are free this year, and I think only 4 or 5 actually appealed to me. I picked up New 52 Futures End number 0, which starts off the New 52, I believe it's a year-long series, called Futures End. I picked up the Bongo comics, the Bart Simpson comic, where it's a bunch of Simpson stories in one. I picked up, what was the other one? Crap. Now I have to look at my own damn Facebook to figure it out. What else did I pick up? I got, oh, that's what it was. The Transformers versus G.I. Joe comic that is setting up that new, I believe it's a miniseries, might be an ongoing, but yeah, those are the 3 that I picked up, but I can't believe I forgot this. Yeah, the Transformers vs. G.I. Joe, Futures End, and Bongo's Free for All with the Simpsons, plus the trade paperback that I mentioned. I wanted to pick up the Power Rangers one. I completely forgot. By the time I got home, I saw a buddy of mine, Andrew Roebuck, on Facebook from thisweekingeek.net. He posted a page from it and said, "Oh my God, love this cheesy goodness." And I'm like, damn. And by the time I realized I forgot to grab it, I'm like, I can't go back up to the shop right now. I just can't. So, but yeah, I got 3 out of the 60. I wanted to get 4. Maybe it'll show up on Comixology or something in the future. I don't know. So what about you? How many shops did you hit, and how many books out of the 60 did you get?
Okay, well, I went to 3 shops. I kind of did like an Ocean's 11, but I still did a bit. I still did my part because I spent $30, and what I got for 30, I got there was an artist who drew a picture of me and made me look like a zombie, and it was for a DC cover, which was awesome. And then I also got he was selling this other comic that apparently Hasbro got wind of this and they pulled this up. This is going to be a collector's item. It's called My Little Phony, which of course is the bronies attacking, and on the cover it's the My Little Ponies all beating the crap out of each other, and two of them in the front are fighting over a human doll, and they're just like pulling out like a chew toy. It's awesome. And,
oh my god!
Yeah, and this was great. As for what books did I buy before I discuss the free ones, I bought Harley Quinn's issues 0 to 5, and I'll talk about that another time. I also picked up Walking Dead, and of course I picked up Krang Wars. As for what I got at Free Comic Book Day, this was interesting because they actually came out while you're waiting online with menus of all things, and they broke it down for kids, for the adults, and for advanced comic readers. And you had to keep memorizing it, and it was hard because there were two girls in front of me that not only were making out, but they were hitting on the girl that was keep giving them the menu. She kept asking for it, and then she would give it back, and then finally she was hitting on the girl that was giving her the menu. But what I got was, for all three shops, I got a Rocket Raccoon because one of the shops only was giving out 3, and I was like, well, what do you recommend? And there wasn't much too appealing. They had Bongo, and I got the Bongo Simpsons there, and they recommended Rocket Raccoon because they didn't have Guardians of the Galaxy, and I got something that's supposed to be called Courtney Crumman, which is supposed to be kind of like America McGee's Alice. And, of course, Teen Titans Go, which, what can you do? And then I went over to another store in which I did get Transformers versus G.I. Joe. I'm glad they've not made that into a live-action movie, I'm saying sarcastically, with arms folded. But I also got Grimm Fairy Tales, and this is an interesting one, and I'll talk about that later. And then, of course, for the main event, which was the first comic book store that I went to, of course, I got Long Halloween, which I was really surprised they were giving that away for free. I got Little Gotham, which I don't know what this is, but this looks interesting. I got Future.
Now, did you get the trade or a single issue?
I got it. It says the special edition, so I guess this is the single issue.
Okay, Little Gotham is it's basically Batman for kids, pretty much.
Yeah, like Little Archie.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, it's got an interesting cover, I'll give it that. And of course, no surprise, Future's End. They did not have, which I was disappointed with, anything else from New 52. They were supposed to give out Batman Eternal, but I was going to buy it, but it was sold out for all 3 stores. So
yeah, I don't remember Bat Eternal being on the list this year, honestly.
It was odd because I thought of that too because I was trying to look up which books they were and weren't giving. And some of the stores at one point were like, well, because like I said, the first one had all these different ways you can get free, more than one free comics. So they were giving away another promotion that if you spent like $20 or more or $30, you would get another free comic. So they were kind of pushing Eternal. That was the whole big thing. The only way you can get it for free, though, is if you spend a certain amount of money. But as I said, it was sold out all over. And the other popular one seems to be the Miss Pettigrew for Peculiar Children. So I'm going to have to go on Comixology for that one.
Yeah. I've been getting Bat Eternal on Comixology. I have the first 4 issues in print as well, but those are probably going to end up in the GCRN 5-year contest as far as our giveaway goes. Let's just kind of run down the comics here. I'm looking at freecomicbookday.com. 2014 Gold books. Archie Digest #1. The Bongo Free-For-All, which is, I think, 6 different Simpson stories inside of it. I have it on the table over there, so...
Yeah.
DC, The Future, New 52 Futures End Special Edition. Avatar, Hellboy, Juice Squeezers. I'm so glad I'm not into Avatar, Hellboy. Guardians of the Galaxy, Hello Kitty Surprise, Kaboom Summer Blast, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, which I wish I was able to grab that, but I couldn't. I forgot it, actually. Rise of the Magi, SpongeBob Freestyle Funnies. Oh my god. Transformers vs. G.I. Joe, Walt Disney Scrooge, Donald Duck Gravity. Wow. For Silver Books, 2000 AD Special, ADV of Jellaby, or Jellaby, All Rocket Raccoon, All You Need Is Kill Terraformas, Armor Hunters Special, Atomic Robo and Friends, Bleeding Cool Magazine, which has comic book movies of 2014, I should say. Amazing Spider-Man 2, all that stuff. Buck Rogers, Courtney Cumrin #1, Defend Comics, Project Black Skynet, Entropy, Epic #0, Finding Gossamer. Okay, don't think that's a Looney Tunes book. Fubar, Ace of Spades, Giant Size 4 Comic Bundle, Graphic Spotlight Dumbest Idea Ever, Grim Fairy Tales #0, Hatter, Far From Wonder, Hip Hop Family Tree 2-in-1. Man, I really wish some of these books were a little bit better. You also have Skyward and Midnight Tiger, Sonic the Hedgehog and Mega Man Flint Book #1, Steam Wars, Street Fighter #0, Teen Titans Go #1 Special Edition, The Smurfs, The Tick, Top Shelf Kids Club, Valiant Universe Handbook, V-Wars, that's from IDW, Worlds of Aspen, and Zombie Tramp and M Theory. Zombie Tramp and M Theory. What? I was only really into the franchises that I know and love. The Bongo Free-For-All with The Simpsons, that was great. Setting up New 52 Futures End with #0 was great. I'll have to find the Power Rangers some other way. And what was the other one? Transformers vs. G.I. Joe was alright. It didn't knock my socks off, but then again, I'm not coming from the world of where I wasn't one of those people that grew up reading the Transformers or G.I. Joe comics as a kid, so where I start in Transformers and G.I. Joe, well, not G.I. Joe comics, where I start in Transformers comics is the current IDW continuity, so how many of these did you actually get?
Oh, looks like
all of them.
Yeah, I wish. No, I would say a good 7, but the problem was that with Power Rangers, it's funny, I don't think anybody even knew. Well, the Uncle Scrooge I came close to, but Power Rangers, yeah, I didn't even see it there. Had it been there, I definitely would have picked that one up. But they were really pushing more and more the independence. Because you know that, right? I mean, Transformers versus G.I. Joe, Marvel, you didn't really miss much back then. The dialogue was interesting. It's amazing what they got away with. I would like to read the IDW because I'm kind of curious what the IDW was like.
Oh, it's so good.
But they were pushing. I mean, I'm looking as well as Steam Wars. I didn't see. I didn't even know the Tick was even there, and most of this stuff. I mean, even Smurfs, didn't know Smurfs was there. Zombie Tramp, I have no idea. I can only picture that. I did notice though that they were really pushing. At the first place I went to, DC. They made it their business to put a lot of DC stuff right next to the booth where you were going to get your free comics. They made sure they put up that table where they had Dark Knight Returns and Batman, Superman, Public Enemies. For me, it's a shame because, the independents that I picked up, especially the artist who, drew the picture of me with a zombie, My Little Phony definitely, not only that, but he was also drawing the Turtles and Usagi Yojimbo from the TMNT universe. And I have to say, I have a free mini comic that he created with Usagi Yojimbo. He looks amazing. He looks less cartoony and more like a samurai warrior. And it kills me because that's something else they really should have been worried about pushing more. I have nothing against DC, but DC really doesn't need to give out a free comic like a business card.
Well, see, here's the I understand why DC did it. Why they did what they did this year with Future's End, because they're launching into this new weekly series to, celebrate 75 years of Batman and to do this whole time jump that they're doing. But see, here's the thing, okay, Guardians of the Galaxy and Rocket Raccoon, that's Marvel, right?
Right.
Those are the only Marvel books I saw that were free. Guardians of the Galaxy and the Rocket Raccoon. DC, 1 book. IDW had 2 books. They had the Transformers vs. G.I. Joe, and then they had this other one called V-Wars. Bongo had the Simpsons one. Kaboom had some Adventure Time thing or whatever else. And, I didn't see a lot of other, publishers that I don't know or that I don't generally not read. It didn't seem like, and I kind of wish that the big companies, okay, I can't say this about IDW because they did do this. The big 2, they should have put out, DC, the only free one I saw even advertised anywhere was Future's End. I thought they would have had at least 1 more. Now, you said that Bad Eternal, if you bought enough, issue 1 would have been free or whatever else, but I just think that, even if, here's the whole point of Free Comic Book Day is to not only, get someone into comics, but it's to advertise for upcoming series. Here's what they should have done. Instead of having Dick Grayson, the new series with Dick Grayson, instead of that starting at number 1 this coming July, they should have done a Free Comic Book Day issue to give us a glimpse into, how the hell Dick Grayson survived, having his brain exploded, and why they killed Nightwing versus Dick Grayson, and why they're putting him into a DC version of a Nick Fury role. But, I mean, for DC to only have 1, Marvel had 2, IDW had 2, I don't get why DC only had 1 free comic this year.
Well, actually, as I said, they did have, for the store that I went, they had issue 1 of The Long Halloween. And
okay,
as I said, it's not the graphic novel because it turns out it's just issue 1, which is, okay, fine. But The Long Halloween has been around forever. And I felt that this should have been more to promote the new stuff. And you're right.
Yeah.
I mean, Harley Quinn, I was curious about it. I kept asking people. I know I asked you. I broke down and bought it. And I have to say, yeah, issue 0 is more of a tribute to Duck Amuck. But that's why it's called issue 0, because it's trying to get her to look different and act different and then go on her adventures. And that's something that they should have pushed, because it's not going too well, because everybody keeps thinking that it's just Harley from, the 92 animated series, and Harley's changed over the years. And Suicide Squad as well, because not only did they put her in it, but they now are pushing that DCAU movie, Assault on Arkham. So I feel that if they're going to bring... New 52 confused the hell out of me, because I understand it's supposed to be like Ultimate Marvel where they're starting from scratch, which is okay. But if you're going to bring in new characters or new storylines, my thing was you should bring in the ones that are not doing that well. Like, if Harley Quinn comics aren't doing that well, then you should have issue 5, the latest one, or at least issue 0, part of Free Comic Book Day.
Yeah. See, here's my problem with issue 0 of Harley is that was it something like 27 different damn artists on that. I get they're showing the many faces and many different styles of Harley Quinn, and I understand perfectly that the Harley Quinn in the New 52 is not the DC Animated Universe Harley Quinn. I get that. But it was just one of those books. After I got issue 0, I'm like, yeah, okay, cool. I have other things I need to be reading other than Harley. I'll get her in trade eventually. It wasn't something that, oh my God, I need to read. Unless it speaks to me, I probably won't read it.
Yeah. Yeah, it doesn't speak because the thing is that they put her in Brooklyn. They put her in Coney Island. Apparently, it's kind of like the Joker's Million story where
Jesus.
Somebody died, and apparently they were a patient of Harley, but they want to rename Anonymous. So she has a choice to move to Coney Island, which she does. She inherits this building, and it's the tenants are these sideshow freaks of Coney Island. And she also literally has a talking beaver that the Joker set on fire, and it's stuffed and it's dead, but it can only talk to her and she can only hear it. And there's also all these bounty hunters. There's like a $2.5 million bounty that they're trying to kill her. So what she does is during the day she's Harleen Quinzel because she has to pay rent for the building because there's like 48% of back taxes. So she's Harleen Quinzel during the day, but at night she's Harley Quinn where she's either trying to kill the people that are killing her for the bounty, or she's captain of a rollerblade team, or she's trying to find a new boyfriend because what happened with the Joker. Ivy comes, she goes to a pet shelter because she's trying to adopt these animals because she finds out they're going to be put to sleep and they won't let her adopt them. So she contacts Poison Ivy and they try to free the animals and they all escape and they're starving. There's a bounty hunter that comes, and what she does is she has to tie it up. She has to tie up this bounty hunter with sausages, and then she goes back to the apartment and she throws the bounty hunter to the hungry animals, and then Ivy and Harley make out, and then she disappears. And then issue 3 is just that.
I'm so glad I did not continue on with that series.
Yeah,
that's just all of that put together. It's too much crazy for me. It really, really is.
Yeah, it gets weird because issue 3 is like her version of Valentine's Day, where Ivy disappears. She left this bush of berries. She eats it, and she gets Ivy's powers to seduce people, but she can't control it. So it's like everybody's after her, and then I think they want to eat her. So it's bizarre.
So, what are some of the stories from past comic book days that you've been to that are fairly interesting?
Past stories. The only thing that I know of right now of past stories is that people are just meeting independent artists, and they're at least networking with the artists, and they're forming more podcasts. The other thing is though is that a lot of people, when you're online, a lot of people right now are 95% DC, and they can't wait. Like they saw me dressed up as the Mad Hatter, so they'll come up to me and they'll be like, "What do you think of Dark Knight Rises?" Or "What do you think of New 52?" Or were you around during all the Batman movies? Which with the exception of 66, yeah. So that's pretty much it. And then eventually, once I try to talk about Mirage or IDW, or because I'm not really a Marvel guy, they'll walk away. It has to be DC or Marvel, which is a shame. And other than that, I mean, today it was really bizarre because, as I said with one store, but then another one, I was conversing with this girl, and this guy just had no social skills. It's like he didn't even say excuse me. He just was trying to get through and gave me this look like, "What are you doing?" So I've noticed though there are more kids, and they try to bring out Darth Vader and the Stormtroopers and Boba Fett, but I'm kind of like at that point. Okay, there are some places where there's organization, which is great, but then you have to figure, like, what demographic are they bringing? I mean, yeah, there are Star Wars comics, which we haven't even talked about, but they're not even on this list for Free Comic Book Day. Why bring
No.
out and these were guys who had suits where they had to talk through the suits like they did in the movies, and I'm like, that's great, but what does one have to do with the other?
Yeah, I mean, if you're not going to have a Star Wars book as Free Comic Book Day, you shouldn't have Star Wars characters at Free Comic Book Day. I mean, unless you're promoting something for the brand or for Dark Horse or whatever, then no. I mean, really, this year it was like, because I didn't, I just had, my card and my credit card and everything else in my pocket, had my ID in my pocket, and I'm like, the guy for Derby City Comic Con tried to hand me something. I should have said, I'm sorry, I don't like to be hand stuff. I should have said that, but I said, oh no, I've got the website saved on my computer, but I have no place to carry that. So but yeah, I mean, and this thing I was talking about earlier, Free Comic Book Day is the busiest day of the year for a lot of shops, and the shop that I go to, I was saying earlier that it's pretty, get 50, 60, 70 people in there. It's pretty claustrophobic. I'm sitting here trying to find the Krang War Volume 5 trade from IDW on the trade shelf, and I'm pretty much up against the shelf as far as I can go, and this kid is trying to get by me, and I'm like, where are you going? So I step aside. It's like, oh my God, like, oh God.
Yeah, I mean the third and final one I went to, they weren't even. I kind of felt bad because they were trying to push Comic Book Day, but they finally gave up and they really weren't trying. They just gave me a free comic, just an extra one just to give me one. But they just seemed to bring in kids that were doing a tournament and there wasn't a line or anything else. I think it depends on how you want to push it because there was another store that didn't even bother with it. They just said, "Oh, it's free comic book day, whatever." And yeah, I mean, I can understand because a lot of people were just partaking in talking to artists and just talking to other comic book people, and they, like I did, just posted pictures. But yeah, I mean, this is a dark horse. I mean, this would be a great time, and I forgot all about Dark Horse. I thought Dark Horse went the way of the Dodo. I thought it went the way of Dreamwave.
No, Dark Horse is still around because they're the ones that do the current Tomb Raider ongoing. That's the only reason why. And I know they still have the Star Wars license at least for at least the rest of this year. Because I think Disney is taking that back and giving it to Marvel. So, um, but no, Free Comic Book Day this year it was pretty fun. It was pretty interesting. It was an overall a nice day as far as weather-wise go, and I went in, I got what I wanted, and didn't miss out on anything, even though I forgot to look for something. But no, overall, pretty enjoyable experience for the most part.
I would have to say my first. It won't be my last, but I, as I said, out of the three stores, at least one was probably the most organized and not only put up at least the line polls, but to give out menus in case you didn't know what they were going to give. And I
Yeah.
think that was a lot smarter. And while you were waiting online, they will come out to you and do trivia contests, or they have some cosplayers coming out. So it made the line go a lot longer. Where the other two shops is like you just walk in, you walk up to a table. Oh, okay, pick two. That's it. Goodbye. And I feel that that's going to really hurt the store a lot more because you're right. You're not just there to get the comics, but you should buy something. I know which comic book store I'm going to be going back to.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, well, see, for me, the not only because I like the staff that work there, at least the core three that work there during the day, during the week. For me and where I go to the Great Escape on Bardstown Road here in Louisville, Kentucky. The reason why I go there is because it's easy. I can, hop on a bus line and it's a straight shot to and from my house. The other two stores, one is like about, I don't know, 10 miles 15 miles away, probably take me two different buses. The other one is up the other end of the street, but again, it's going to take me 2 buses to get to. So, and the other one, it's called Comic Book World. It looks like it used to be an old warehouse, or that's the feel. Like it feels every time I've been into Comic Book World. I'm sure the people that work there are absolutely amazing. I've only talked to them a handful of times, but every time I've been in there, I've either felt like I was in a warehouse or a damn grocery store. It's just the way the store and the way the location is set up. It's like the opposite of the Great Escape, where the Great Escape loads their spaces up with every piece of merchandise they can fit into it, whereas Comic Book World pretty much has all the stuff, but there's a lot more space. It's weird. It's really, really weird. I really enjoyed Free Comic Book Day 2014. Thankfully, there's a lot of nerds in this town here in Louisville, Kentucky that don't give a shit about the 2.5-minute horse race that happens every first Saturday in May. So there is that. And yeah, I think, you got anything else you want to bring up before we close it out?
No, just, support your local comic book store.
Exactly. That's going to do it for this episode of the Pullbag After Dark. Coming up next is the Batman month. Make your great escape into comics, and we will catch you next time.
Hi, I'm LeVar Burton, and you probably know from the last 30 years that I've hosted Reading Rainbow that reading is a pretty important part of my life. But what you might not know is that my love of the written word originated with comic books. That's right. You see, I'm an Army brat. My father was in the military, and when we were stationed in Germany, comic books were a treasured item that we first read and then traded with one another. And they also kept us connected to the popular culture back home. So I'm excited to tell you that Saturday, May 3rd, is Free Comic Book Day. It's an opportunity for you to go into your local comic book store and pick out one of 60 comic books for free. For fans out there, it's a great way to try something new. And for you parents, what better way to get your kids excited about reading than with a comic book? So, Saturday, May 3rd, hit up your local comic book store for a free comic book, but you don't have to take my word for it.
That's Stan Lee. He's quite a guy.
I think he's truly special.
Well, Madam Webb, where to now?
Face front, true believer.
You've just heard the latest episode of The Pullbag, the GCRN's comic review and discussion podcast. There are several ways to get in touch with us and leave feedback for the show. You can visit the website, geekcastradio.com, where you can comment on the episode and all of our different podcasts. You can rate our show on iTunes. Be sure to leave us feedback. Call the voicemail line, 502-526-5821. Please remember to tell us the show you are leaving the message for, and your name. Become a fan of us on Facebook by searching Geekcast Radio Network. Send us an email feedback at geekcastradio.com. Follow us on Twitter at GeekCastRadio. So until next time, make your great escape into comics and unleash the geek in you.